So, welcome everybody to the Healthy at Home Presents. And today we have Lisa Whiteley. She works with Alta Veterinary Hospital, and this is a family-owned clinic that's in Sandy that services a full range of pet care. And it was established over 60 years ago by Dr. John Whiteley, which is her father. Um, and but since then, she has since taken over the company. Caring for animals has been a professional passion of Lisa's for over 40 years. She is a certified vet practice manager as well as a certified vet technician, and she has a great love for animals and has seen firsthand the benefits that pet companionship can provide. So we're so grateful that she's with us today, and we will turn the time over to her.
Thank you. Just as another little thing is I grew up with my father as a veterinarian, and I got off the little school bus when I was a little kid, and I would go with him to do large and small animal work, and I've loved it ever since. And he had a great love for animals, and he would have loved to be practicing. He passed away last year at the age of 94. So he always had a great love for animals, and he taught that to me very well. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit today was the human-animal bond, which it is a very important part of our lives, whether you're young or old or in between. Sometimes our pets, because they really are, they can't take care of themselves, so that's our jobs to take care of them. And for older people, it's a great human-animal bond because it helps us to get up. It helps us to go for a walk on good days, no snowy days, good days. And it just helps us to, when our children are all grown and gone, it helps us to have a purpose to take care of those kids, those four-legged kids. We have some clients that say, yes, my parents take better care of the dog than they did me. Only joking, but that sometimes happens. We tend to spoil them. There's nothing wrong with spoiling our animals as long as we do it in a healthy manner. So a couple things I just want to go over with you, as in, it doesn't matter what age you are, this applies to all pets. First of all, there's several things that keep pets healthy. That is vaccinations, usually a yearly exam by the veterinarian. And also diet is important, and also depending on the age and the life stage where your animal, your pet is yearly blood work. So I'm going to kind of go over, so the vaccinations, they should always stay up on their rabies. That's a legal issue. They should stay up on their distemper, hepatitis, parainfluenza, parvo vaccine. Usually those two vaccines are 3-year vaccines, so you don't have to have them every year. And then you should stay up on your dogs with the Bordetella, which is an upper respiratory. And that is really an airborne virus, and that can be picked up whether you're in the house or not in the house. So those are important vaccinations, your core vaccinations to get. Diet. Also, the main thing is if your animal is spayed or neutered. That does prevent a lot of problems down the road. It also helps decrease the over pet population. So those are really important things to have done. The earlier you can have that done, that's better, but it can be done anytime. Diet is really important for pets. We see a lot of obesity in pets. And I know for a lot of people, they think that it's okay to give table scraps to pets. It really isn't, because pets, our food is more flavorful, has more protein, has more calories than their food, and pets tend to become overweight because of this. Also, pets like people food better than sometimes dog food, so they choose to not eat their dog food or cat food, and they want people food. And so those are a bad habit to do. Now, there are some people food that are really good for pets. Some of your Greek yogurts are really good because it does have probiotics in them and it helps to keep, the gut healthy. Um, Rice is good if you have an upset stomach, cooked rice. Um, Scrambled eggs are okay if they have an upset stomach, but you don't want to give these if there's not a problem. Little pieces of carrots, little pieces of cheese are okay, but you just want to make sure they've eaten their food first, then they can have those treats. A good healthy treat for dogs is what we call frozen green beans. They're very inexpensive at the grocery store. And the frozen green beans has no carbohydrates or no sugars or calories. So it makes it a very good healthy treat to give. A lot of treats that you buy in the stores have just lots of fat and calories in them. And if you give them a treat, which is very important to reward them for their good behavior, but if you give them a lot of treats, you still have to count that into your total calories for the day. So this is where we get obesity, and obesity leads to heart problems, ligament problems, just a lot of medical issues that is really hard to deal with. It leads to diabetes, just like with people. It leads to diabetes, and we just want to do whatever we can to prevent those things because it's a hard road. We don't get our pets with us for, as many years as people live, and so we want to make their lives just as happy and comfortable as possible. And so by keeping them always on a thinner side is always best. Talking about exercise, as long as the weather is nice and it's safe for you to take your pet out, then take the dog for a walk. You go for a walk. It's good exercise for you. It's healthy for you. And it works both ways. We do recommend to have a yearly exam only because dogs don't live as long, and sometimes we can pick up things before it becomes a serious life-threatening situation. So especially in your elderly dogs, any dog from the age of 7 on up is considered a senior. And so we do recommend sometimes yearly blood works. There's all different types of blood works that can be done in different price ranges, but at least some to make sure we're checking the kidneys and the liver and the glucose, which is for diabetes and things. We do have, cats age a little bit differently than dogs. They have a different metabolism, and so they have different needs than dogs. Older cats need to be checked out just like dogs and blood work because they can have a thyroid disease, they can have obesity, they can have kidney issues, diabetes, the same as dogs, but cats, as they get older, definitely can have more kidney issues, and we want to kind of help, prevent that. Does anybody have at any time a question? You're more than welcome to do whatever you have to button, you have to push to raise. If you have a question, I'll be glad to answer it the best I can. But just kind of let me know. We find that for all people, it's nice to be able to, my dogs wake me up. I can't sleep in because they've got to get outside and potty, and they're hungry, and they have a schedule, and they like their schedule. They don't like that to be interrupted too much. So you kind of get on a schedule with the dog, or not as much with the cat, but as a dog, you kind of get on a schedule, and it's good because it does get me up. And we go out and we walk and we do those things, and that also helps to keep everybody healthy. One of the big thing that we see in our clinic on a daily basis is the obesity. And so I really want to stress that we want to love and spoil our animals. We just want to make better choices of how we're spoiling them. There is here in Utah, we didn't used to have heartworm disease, but we do have heartworm disease. It's passed on by mosquitoes, and each year it's reported for more and more. We are definitely not as rampant in heartworm as other parts of the country. The South, Texas, Florida, Georgia, all of the southern states are very high in heartworm disease, and that can be life-threatening. It's always best to prevent disease problems by doing some preventive work and putting them on a monthly medication for prevention. So prevention is really the key that we try to focus on, because it is less expensive. Excuse me. We also, in our heartworm disease, we don't have a lot of parasitonic parasites here, but we do have roundworms. You can get roundworms by being in, sometimes even in a lake or something. And heartworm also prevents that. So they're getting a dose of prevention for internal parasites, which is also very good, because those things can be transmitted zoonotically, to people. Some people may take their animals to dog parks. Dog parks are great. The concept is great. But there've become a lot of problems with dog parks due to some dogs not liking other dogs, dog fights. Sometimes there've been in some dog parks, they have rivers that run through them that carry giardia that cause problems. So you just have to be, cautious of what you, where you take them. There was a thing on the news today about the off-leash park up at Tanner Park with our flooding. There's been some dogs lose their life. And so just stay away from those things. Keep your dog on a leash. Most city ordinances require dogs on a leash. And so it just helps prevent dogs from running away and not listening to you, and accidents. So we always want to do whatever we can to prevent those accidents. Annie, you have a hand. Okay.
Yes, I just had a question. So, when looking for pets, specifically if it's because we're lonely or, we're empty nesters now or something like that, what are some of the things that we need to be aware of before we're actually having a pet and then maybe we're like in over our head? Can you talk about maybe what we should think beforehand, and then maybe what are some of the things if we do find that this is too much for us, what are our options? How do
Well,
we navigate that?
that's a really good question, because this comes up a lot. You kind of have to look at what is your lifestyle. Do you and your husband say, do you like to go hiking? Do you like to do the outdoors? Or do you just want a dog to be in the house, a small dog? It kind of depends on your lifestyle. And then it's very important to research some of these different breeds. We have a client, a little bit elderly client, and they decided to adopt a Jack Russell. Well, a Jack Russell jumps and is so active, and they keep saying we're exhausted after the end of the day with this dog. So you kind of have to look at what is best for you. If you are a senior, I would say your little dogs are better than the big dogs, because big dogs have more strength and they could run and pull you over, and that could cause injury. So you kind of have to look at your lifestyle, and please do some research on different types of dogs. There are lots of dogs at the shelters, Salt Lake County, the Humane Society, that we kind of emptied the shelters a lot during COVID, but the shelters are now all full again. And that's where, if we can spay and neuter so that we decrease population with animals, and then we go and find the right one. Now, when you go and look for a dog, I would not do a quick thing and make a quick decision. I would interact, because most of the places that you adopt have you interact with the pet, and you can kind of see. But there's a lot of ones that need a lot of love, and I think there's a lot of people out there that can give back a lot of love. And when you're kind of empty nesters, I went about 6 weeks without having a dog, and I said, okay, that's as long as I can go, and I'm not going any longer, and I ended up with 2. So I didn't like the quietness. I like them to bark when somebody comes to the door. I like them to bark when somebody's outside. It kind of lets me know what's going on. So, but the shelters, the Humane Society, they're great to work with. And they kind of can help you. They'll probably ask you some of those same questions. What is your lifestyle? Because there are some dogs that aren't good for certain people. You know, they may be better for somebody that's more active. Who knows? Always, it's always worth training. And there's several places that have training. There's a nonprofit organization called Salt Lake Dog Training. There's ones at PetSmart, those things, because part of that training is teaching you how to help with the dog, what to expect and what they should be doing. And it also helps to kind of train you on what some of the dogs like to do. Like I mentioned earlier, my dogs, they get up at 6 o'clock, whether it's Saturday morning or Sunday morning. They get up at 6, they wake me up, and we're outside to go potty, and then we have our routine. So it just kind of depends on what your lifestyle is. I think everybody should have a dog. There's too many out there that need a home and need the love that they need. So if you can find the right one, I think that's great. But probably working with a trainer is also the best. And there's some expensive ones, but there's also less expensive ones too. Long answer, but does that help you, Annie?
Yeah, and can you talk maybe about like like you mentioned for older adults, a small dog might be helpful. I'm just seeing your background and seeing the word cat behind you. So how are cats as far as or do they just kind of do their own thing? I don't know a whole lot about cat ownership,
This
but
part of this, let's see, this saying is cats are kindly masters just as long as you remember your place. And we always say that cats adopt people, people don't adopt cats. But cats are wonderful. And if you are not as mobile, then the cat is the perfect thing because they'll come to you. They won't. Now there are some cats that fetch, but there's not very many of them. But they have their special little toys and they're great companions. They are definitely more independent. They don't really, they need food and water, but they kind of sometimes can do their own thing where dogs can't. They need the people around. But you have a litter box and you just have to change it on a daily or every other day basis. So they're definitely more independent. But if you have where you can't get around a lot, then a cat is wonderful. They've got wonderful animals at the shelters. So yeah, either one is good. Back to behavior a little bit. This is where the training comes in for any dog at any age. There's a saying that, you can't train an old dog, but you really can. And we want dogs want to perform for the owners. They want to be rewarded for their good things. And you always reward for good behavior, not for bad behavior. Same with cats. Cats have special little treats and they want that reward. They want to please you. Their goal is to please you. So when we get new puppies in, we offer a little free training just to get people started, and then they work with the Great Salt Lake Dog Training Group, or any trainer really. But it's important to your role and they know their role and what to expect. And again, we got, food, nutrition is huge. And you'll see lots of reports on nutrition. And what we've always had a philosophy of is we're not in the dog food or cat food business. We're in the health management. And it's been proven over and over and over 40 years of how important nutrition is. Just as a consumer, there's several things that you look for. In the foods that are Well, there's two things. For male cats, if you do have a cat, it is very, very important that you make sure they've got a good quality diet, because they can have excessive minerals in the food that can cause crystals for cats, and male cats. That's a life-threatening situation. If you have a male cat that you haven't seen him go pee, you go to the ER. There's no waiting. Any time of any day, you go to the ER. So we've always been in the health management business, and we have a company, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say company names, but we have a food that there's two forms of food. There's a fixed formula and an open formula. And most foods that you buy at the grocery store are what's called an open formula. Now, an open formula means that the dog or cat food company can, they can have what's in the bag is not necessarily what's on the bag. And they can do that. They have to change that. They have to have, and you never know what bag you're getting, because every 6 months that bag has to have exactly what's in that's written on the bag. But that changes on a regular basis. And this helps to cause obesity to an animal too, because ingredients are changing. Where you get a fixed formula diet, which is some of your better quality foods, they have, that bag is going to, what's on the bag is going to be what's in the bag, and it's going to stay the same on a regular basis. And by nutrition, by doing good with nutrition, it helps to prevent possibly going over to prescription foods that they're expensive. But if we let things go and don't make some changes, then sometimes we have to go to a prescription food. And with obesity, we have a prescription food that helps, and if you stick to it, we have seen we had a client that had a corgi that weighed 45 pounds, which corgis should be maybe 20, 25 pounds. And you couldn't see her front feet because she had little front legs. And she lost about 20 pounds and you could see her legs. So, nutrition is a huge factor, and there's different qualities of food out there. Lots of different foods, but if you find a better quality, it's always best to go with the best quality.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So what are your top ingredients that you should look for?
Well, honestly, I've seen it, but I don't know. I don't have a bag in front of me to tell me. There's a lot of controversy over corn, but corn is not a protein. Corn is a carb, and you're looking for, that's a problem that, people said, oh, it's got corn in it. Well, corn has a lot of energy, and they're looking for that. Also, you've got a lot of chicken. A lot of chicken is in most of your diets, but that's kind of sometimes one thing that dogs will be allergic to is chicken. So if they're getting that every day, they just may be allergic to it. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. Grains, a lot. Then there's a kind of a trend that talks about grain-free. Well, grain-free is not good because it actually causes heart problems. And so you just want a good quality name brand food. And in the stores, those are okay, but they're not the best quality. So sometimes you get what you pay for. And so if you pay a little bit more, you might have less waste in the bowel movement to pick up waste. There may be less amounts that you feed due to better quality. And again, especially in the male cat, you have to be really careful because they can develop those crystals that can block their penis, that causes them to be blocked up, and that's that emergency. So some of your better quality foods have some built-in little urinary acidifiers in there that kind of help them drinking a lot. So there's just good, better quality foods. So sometimes you think you're going to pay a lot for this bag, but in reality, you're not paying as much. You're getting down to 50, 60 cents a day when you look at how long it lasts, what you're picking up, everything, involved with it. So better quality is really the better way to go in dog and cat food.
Thank you.
In some of the yearly exams that we do, we do have we for senior dogs that are anywhere from 7 plus, mainly 10 plus, they should be having, like we talked a little earlier on the yearly blood work, check the urine. We kind of package that a little bit and do all of it and do some discounts. So because there's quite a few little diagnostics that can be done, but it's been very helpful. Some we have found everything in normal. Others we've caught some things going on that were not even noticeable at that point. So those are all good to talk to your doctor, your veterinarian about those things, because it does help to keep them healthier. So,
Lisa,
yes.
there is a question, and maybe you can provide this after the fact. I'm not sure, but we do have someone in the comments asking if you could mention a couple of those quality food brands for cats and for dogs, if you know off the top of your head, maybe some.
I have them. I can do that as long as we're okay, because I didn't know what the rules were. If I can say some name brands,
Are we okay with that? I think, Becky, I would think so.
How about if you say them, and then if I find out differently, I will cut them out.
Okay. Well, we've always my father was one who was so on nutrition. And like he said, we're not in the dog food or cat food business. We're in the health management. And we have had the Hills Science Diet products for just over-the-counter dog and cat foods for well over 40 years. Hills does have prescription foods when needed. I've actually been back to their Topeka, Kansas, and had a tour of their campus, and they've done their research. They have dogs that they use that they tried on different diets. They have doctors that have made these diets, and they are what we call a fixed formula. It stays the same. That's what the key is. There are others. Royal Canin is another good top quality, but those are probably the two that I can say that are really the top quality. They are more expensive, but we've seen dogs that have gotten bladder stones because the urine, because the food gets them off balance, and they can develop, it's too alkaline or too acidic, and they can develop stones, cause problems from a lot of different other brands. But I have not seen one ever on Hills or prescription food that's ever had, like bladder stones. So that's why we just always encourage to do your research, find out if they're an open formulation or a closed formulation. And the reason you'll probably, if you ever do that, an open formulation, they can't publicize because it changes all the time. Where your other companies, they can print it for you and say, this is what it is. This is exactly what it is. So there's food out there that has been made for all sorts of problems: diabetes, kidney disease, derm problems, weight loss. They have new ones for cancer, dogs that have cancer. They've got cats and dogs that have bladder issues. They've got prescription foods. So they've done their research, and they've been around long enough that they've got good quality food. And so that you just kind of have to look at what's best for, what's best for you. But our goal in all, and I think most veterinarians their goal is to provide a longer and healthier life for your pet. And by, sometimes people will say, well, it's too expensive to go. But really, when you you do some of these preventative things, and it's way less expensive than having a sick pet. So, I would strongly suggest that yearly exam to be seen by the doctor, because they can pick up some things that way. Let's see. Let me just check my notes, make sure we've gone over everything. But we want, pets to have a good quality of life. And so we try to do whatever we can to keep them healthy. Teeth are a huge factor in the health of your animal. We offer just for people to come in and have one of our nurses check the teeth, because the calculus that's on the teeth carries a lot of bacteria, and that bacteria runs through the bloodstream and it can cause some problems. So always have that checked. And most of your veterinarians, they check that on that yearly exam too, and that also helps to keep pets healthy. When people let the teeth go and they don't brush their teeth, dogs should have their teeth brushed, a clean mouth, at least 2 to 3 times a week. There's special toothpaste for dogs and cats that make it so they can swallow their toothpaste, where our toothpaste you should be spitting out, and they don't know how to spit. So it's best to use a pet toothpaste, but you can have a finger toothbrush or a small toothbrush. But if they've got a lot of tartar on the teeth, then they need to be professionally taken care of to keep that healthy. That also keeps pets very healthy with keeping their teeth cleaned. It's not an easy thing to do, but our nurses can show people how to do them, or they do have special treats, not really treats, but they have dental chews that help keep the teeth clean. They have a special food that helps to keep the teeth clean. We have samples of those at our clinic. If anybody wants to stop in and pick them up and try them, that's awesome. We want the dogs to be able to chew them. If they swallow them, it's not really helping keeping those teeth clean, but that is important. And most dogs love to lick their owners, and owners love to have their dogs give them kisses. And sometimes it smells pretty bad, but if we, to keep them clean, then that's a much better thing.
Hey, Lisa, we have another question. One, if you could just repeat those name brands. Was it Royal Canine and
Royal Canin? It's not canine, but it's Canin, and Hill's Science Diet. And you can get all of those at, your pet stores. You just can't find them in grocery stores.
Okay. And then another question that came up is, do you think it's worth it to get pet health insurance?
Again, you have to look at what your lifestyle of the pet is. If you've got a dog that you're going to take hiking and outdoorsy, that would be great to have pet insurance. There's all different types of insurance. You can have for just preventative health. You can have for just major health. You can have a combination, and it depends on what you want to pay as a premium, because it's going to be a monthly fee. Now, some companies you start out as a puppy and they don't ever change the premium for the rest of the dog's life. There's other companies that you start out at a small premium as a young dog, but then it increases as the dog gets older. So you have to just look at those things. And if anyone wants to call us, we can give them names. But I think if you Google pet insurance, there's lots of different ones. There's just so many. There used to only be like 1 or 2, but now there's probably a good 10 plus different pet insurances. And they usually there is a deductible, and then most insurances that cover for major things cover just kind of like people insurance is an 80-20. But the other problem is you pay for the full bill, and then insurance reimburses you, where for humans, it's kind of opposite. You know, they pay for their portion first, and then the person pays, you know, their portion. But it's kind of opposite in pets. But pet insurance, you just never know when you are going to need it. So, but it basically, you have to look at your lifestyle of what, you know, if your dog is not going to be a lot where they can get hurt, and, you know, then probably not. But if you have an active dog and you have one that goes to the park and runs and catches frisbees and balls and hikes and everything, you're just at a greater risk of having a potential issue. So you just have to look at what you can do, and go from there. Most seniors in most clinics, senior citizens, you know, most of the clinics will do like a senior discount of 10%. It's usually a very common thing. Make sure you ask them if they offer that. So you do have a little bit less, but we don't have the health care insurance a lot that humans do, so that's why they have to be paid for all up front. So
I'm curious too then on health insurance for pets. Is it like out of network, in network? I don't know how.
no, what it is you go where you want to go, and then usually the front office will help you file a claim. That's what we do here, is we will help file the claim, so that you don't have to go home and do it, but you file it and then they reimburse you. Most companies, you don't have to wait long for your reimbursement. It's pretty, I can't be 100% accurate, but I've had people tell us it's, you know, within a week usually. So, or you can have your own. I know they have health savings accounts for humans, but you just sometimes you may, instead of paying that premium, you may want to have your own little savings account for your pets. Some people do that. You can't use the human health savings for pets, but you just, you know, if you're going to pay a $20 or $30 premium, you just maybe put that away, you know, for when you have to have things done. So it's kind of an individual basis. Insurance is good. It's just not like people insurance completely. So yeah, that's a good question. We're seeing a lot more people getting it. Some of your younger generations are getting more of pet insurance than they've ever had before. So yeah. We take, I just see this Jessica rabbit that just kind of makes me think of a rabbit. And there are special doctors that take care of, we call them exotics, but they need to be seen kind of not all the time, but maybe a couple times. But usually on rabbits, you know, their nails need to be done, and sometimes their teeth need to be filed because they grow. But there's several exotic veterinarians out there that can help with those things. We can trim nails. We also offer a little, if you bring in 10 cans of people food, we'll trim your dog's nails for free. And then we donate that to the Utah Food Bank. So we've done that for many, many years. We've probably donate over close to 1,000 pounds a year, and you're getting some service and we're doing service for you, and then we're all helping the community. So that has worked out really well for us. So, but dogs should have their nails done probably every 5, maybe 6 weeks. Some dogs will grow quicker. Your little dog's feet nails tend to grow quicker than your big dogs because they're running and kind of doing their own natural nail filing. But little dogs tend to be every 4 to 6 weeks to have those done. It's not hard to do, but sometimes it's scary to do, and so we've kind of offered that to kind of help so so that they don't get cut and bleed, and then you have a big mess. So anyway,
I've done that to my dog, and it was not a good feeling. I felt so bad. I've never done them since.
It can be, and it's not hard, but it's challenging, especially when you're by yourself. Because when we do it, we usually have two people. One is holding the dog, and the other one is doing the nail trim. And sometimes we even Dremel their nails, like on big dogs that have really thick nails. But we have to Dremel them, and we just use a regular Dremel. So if you've got that and you've got two people to help you, use a Dremel at home. Works just great. So those are some things that you can do. Let's see.
You had another question in the box. It says, let me see, how important is it to get an annual blood test, renal tech index for a 16-year-old cat, chronic kidney disease?
Well, those should be done on a yearly basis. Those might even be at that age, even every 6 to 9 months, depending on the cat and what's going on with the kidneys. We see a lot of older cats like that they end up with kidney or renal issues, which is your kidney, liver, or your pancreas, and they end up with problems, and that is a hard thing. But yeah, they should be done minimum yearly, and if they have a problem, they're probably being checked on an every 6 month basis. And also for older cats, they need to have some wet food. Wet food just helps with extra moisture in it to help give the cats more moisture. So wet food for older cats is good. We don't see it as much for dogs as it is for cats. So if you've got an older cat and ones that do have kidney disease, that's when you're on mostly some prescription food because it's low in protein. So, and just talk with your vet on that. So, but our goals, and I think it's the same as with any veterinarian, is we just want these companion animals to have a good, healthy, comfortable life because they do bring great joy to our lives. Their personalities, they just are extremely lovable. They love unconditionally, and they're there to just be what the people want them to be. And so to keeping them healthy by some of these things that we've talked about, spay, neutering, vaccinations, yearly exams, blood work, yearly blood work for elderly patients is all very important to do. Keeping their teeth healthy. So there's many ways to just make sure when you do on a yearly basis when you go into your doctor to have them check those teeth because it is important. And we brush our teeth, and if we never brushed our teeth in like 5 or 6 years, we'd probably have the same type of problem that they have. But we brush our teeth once or twice a day. Some people may even brush them more, but the ideal is if we can brush them on 2 to 3 times a day, it really helps.
Hey, Lisa, I have a question. Maybe want to ask you to share this. So Lisa worked with me and has helped us with the pets that I've owned. And recently she was just excellent in helping us kind of navigate that end of life care for pets. I wonder if you could touch on how do we know, like if it's not a major obvious thing like cancer, how do we know what to look for and how do we go about addressing those needs for our pets?
Once you kind of look at good and bad days as our best indication. When you have more bad days, there's just the quality of life has gone down for that pet. And a bad day could be doesn't want to get up and eat, sleeps all day, having accidents in the house. So those would be somewhat considered some bad days. And this is what we tell our clients is that you just kind of have to monitor that And when, there's comfort care, just like there's comfort care for people, there's comfort care for animals, but at some point, none of it works. And so you look at the good and bad days. And when you've got way more bad days than good, then the dog's quality is not there. And I think the kindest thing is that humane euthanasia. We all don't want to do that. That's a very hard thing for everyone, the staff and the doctor and the owners, and it's a very hard thing. But we can help them out by humane euthanasia when it comes to that point. And then just you're looking to see if the animal's eating. When an animal doesn't want to eat in 2 to 3 days, you've got a couple options. You've got to get them to the doctor. If you've got a cat that doesn't eat in 2 or 3 days, that are sick, their metabolism changes and their body starts shutting down. So it is important to watch their behavior, watch some of the things that they're doing. And, when we try to prevent that, but if we don't, then, you're into the doctors and having some diagnostics done. They've got great diagnostics to do x-rays. Most clinics have ultrasound. These are all very good diagnostics to help with the pet. And the best, the doctors and the staff always want what's best for the pet. And sometimes there's things that we can cure and sometimes there's not. So that's a good question. Thanks, Anne, for that. Do we have any other questions?
I have another one. So if you choose to change your pet's diet, what is the best way to go about doing that? Like their food brand?
It's usually over a transition period of 7 to 14 days. And you usually start out with, you can do half and half. And then you slowly start weaning them off of the old and, going with the new. We always suggest to do, use what you've got, so we don't want to waste. And so do that for, when you get down to maybe a quarter of a bag, you can start to do a new food and transition that way. And that just helps the dog or cat to not have a lot of gut issues with diarrhea and that. And that usually is the best way to do. You can also, we see a lot of animals that get into people food and that they'll get an upset stomach because of people food. And so they'll have some diarrhea. So when you have your guests over, just give them a little plate and says, these are the treats for the dogs. Give them this. Don't give them sneak them those little treats. Because people food is definitely much more flavorful than dog food is. I, years ago, took a few kernels of some food and it's pretty bland, but they just, if something's better, they're going to go for the better for sure. So just have a special, because we get people over a holiday will call in and say, yeah, we had a gathering and now my dog has diarrhea. Sometimes cats that have a lot of diarrhea, there's something else usually going on than just that. But dogs will get, a quick thing of diarrhea and then they have to do some prevention with that. But it's mostly because of a food indiscretion. So, and you want to try to prevent diarrhea. That's just the worst thing that you have to clean up. And so,
looks like we got another question in the chat box that they're asking, how is cancer detected in a cat or dog?
Well, they usually will have done there are a few profiles on your blood work that may indicate, but they do have some special cancer screenings if they're suspicious. But also if they've done some x-rays, they might see that. And we have seen some bladder cancer, and they do have some specialized tests for those things. Also, they may find it on ultrasound, but you don't really, there's not a specific one unless you're looking for something, directly. But there are a few indicators on just your yearly blood work that may be a potential problem. And you kind of
Okay.
look at symptoms and history and what's going on with the pet.
We had another question come in about dental cleaning the anesthesia. They had a cat that had problems coming out of the anesthesia after cleaning and just wanted to know if it's necessary to continue to have their teeth cleaned, and if so, how often?
Well, you have to find, so in a normal professional dental cleaning, they do pre-screen blood work to make sure that the kidney, liver, your glucose, everything is okay to handle anesthesia, because the anesthesia has to metabolize through the kidneys and the liver. And so if that's all good, and then they have specialized anesthesia for different ages of animals. They just do different drugs for different things. It's not just a one type of anesthesia. So, like even if you have an animal with a heart murmur, there's things that you do differently. Usually on dental cleanings and all surgeries, they've got an IV catheter. They've been given fluids, and hopefully that she had all those things done that didn't that but if they didn't have those things, then sometimes you can have some anesthetic risk, and then you just have to do some things like maybe a non-anesthetic dental down the road that can be used without anesthesia, or just trying to keep the animal's teeth brushed. We find that we'll be more than happy to help any of our clients. They financially pay for a dental, and we provide, if they come in, we'll be more than happy to brush their teeth for free, because this is our part of trying to help them clean those teeth, is to keep them clean. Because if we do nothing after they're cleaned, in 3 or 4 months, the calculus is gonna build up, in smaller levels. But if we don't do anything, then just keep them brushed. So there are some things to prevent again after, so you don't have to go under a full anesthetic to have those teeth cleaned. So, and hopefully the kitty's doing well, and everything is all good from having that dental cleaning. So we're here with any questions, we like you to call us. We will try to do our best to help answer that. Whatever, we're here to provide a service to help you keep your pets healthy and happy, and that's our goal too. So.
Well, I appreciate so much. The information was very informative and helpful. So thank you, Lisa, for sharing your time with us. And if there's any other questions, I'm sure we have time for one more, but I'm not seeing anything pop up.
I love these little hands. I don't know how to do. I'm not very computer, and so I love these little things that come up. They're great, fun.
Yeah.
Yep, the little hand. Yep. I guess. Yeah. I don't. I'm not very computer smart on all those little fun little details. So, but it's been fun. I'm glad to be able to share with you as any information that I can, and help you to have a wonderful life with your pet. They bring so much joy to our lives, and we bond with them, and we love them and want the best for them. So.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And those who asked questions, it always makes these presentations go really well when we have people contribute with questions that they have. Before everybody goes, I just want to share this. That presenter will be Melissa Mockley from the University of Utah. So we hope everybody can participate and join us next week. Thanks.
Lisa, in the chat, it also said someone Catherine said, she appreciates your presentation. It helps us to know how to communicate with our vets. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, have a great day.